Testing. All right, I'm not used to speaking on a microphone, so I apologize. I taught high school for 14 years, and I think when you teach high school, you learn how to project your voice. So this is going to be a new experience for me. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jason. Like I said, taught high school for 14 years. I was a district administrator for 3. I was a university administrator for 3, so I've been all over the place, done a little bit of this and that. When I was working at the high school in Tyler, some of you, if you're familiar with Tyler, Texas, I taught at Robert E. Lee High School. And I was the assistant to the testing coordinator there for 6 years. So I've done parts of your job. I haven't quite done it to the level that you guys do it. But hopefully that will allow me to understand, any questions that you guys have. And I think that you're going to like what you see. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years now, and I have not yet walked out of a training where the vast majority of the people in the room were either happy or ecstatic. And those few people that weren't happy or ecstatic were cautiously optimistic. And usually after they've played with the system a little bit later, they come back and they go, you know what? Yeah, I like this. So I'm going to try to, I realize this is, coming in and doing stuff like this is never fun. I'm going to make some really bad jokes today. I'm just going to forewarn you. If you want to humor me and laugh, I will appreciate that, and I will love you, and that'll be awesome. And if you don't, that's okay. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But I am going to try to spice this up a little bit because, once again, nobody likes to come in and do these kind of things. But I think what you're going to find is that in spite of my horrible jokes, this is going to be a tool that is going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. It's going to keep you from worrying about whether or not you did something correctly. It's going to help ensure that the right kids get in the right room with the right teacher and the right test and all those things that have to be correct. And you know the chaos that leads up to all that. This is about minimizing the chaos. Some of you are probably living off of notes and spreadsheets. Hopefully, we're going to do away with almost all of the notes. And we're going to get rid of most of the spreadsheet work, too. There might be 1 or 2 occasions where you're still going to need a spreadsheet. But if you do it like I tell you, it's going to save you quite a bit of time there as well. So a little background about what this system is. It was created at a high school. It was created by my former supervisor. And it was done because one of you guys, somebody very much like you, came to him and said, hey, I know you're a tech guy. I need help. I'm drowning. I can't do this by myself. And he said, okay, I'll see what I can do. That led to him creating a system, the precursor to this, that he used to give away. It was something that he kind of traveled around and did training on, gave it away for free. But we realized, the whole point behind what he was doing was trying to save people time, because you guys, you never got into this so you could run testing. You got into education because you wanted to help kids. I mean, everybody in the room wanted to help kids. Well, testing, yeah, I mean, it does, but it doesn't really help kids, not the way you wanted to help kids. So what this does is it cuts down on some of that time to give you back the time to give to the kids. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm used to interruptions, so if you have any questions, just pipe up and go, hey, I'm not quite getting this. What may seem like it's making sense to me might not make sense to you. So, please feel free to interrupt, ask questions. This is supposed to be interactive. This is one of the largest groups I've had. I had one group that was a little larger than this, so it should go pretty smoothly. But I want you to feel like you can interact with me as much as you need to. That being said, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, I'm not going to ask you to close your laptops because I know you guys, some of you need to be able to interact with your campuses. However, if you don't need to be on them, it's fine if you need to save power, because I know not everybody's near a power strip. You won't actually need to log into the site until after lunch. So for those of you that want to disconnect, feel free to go ahead and disconnect. That's fine. If you leave them open, it's not a problem. But I would ask for anybody that does have their computers open to not log into the website and start playing with things until we get ready to get everybody there at the same time. All right, so Test Hound, let's get started. Whenever you're working in the system, if you ever need to kind of refresh and get back to the beginning, just click on this little home tab right here. It'll take you back to the beginning. We're just going to kind of go across the top bar here real quick. When we come back together after lunch today, I'm going to have all of you officially set up your accounts. You should have, at this point, received an email with your password, and it was a crazy password. If you didn't get one between now and lunch at some point, you're going to need to let your district administrators know. They will go in and either reset your password or create an account for you if somehow we missed somebody. When we get to changing the password, you've already seen how crazy those things are. Copy and paste. It'll save you a whole lot of headache. Copy and paste, reset it. One little word of caution, and I'll probably have to say this again to you. Excuse me, wrong spot. It's going to ask you to put in one non-alphanumeric character. That means not a letter, not a number. So £, or a hashtag as the young people call it, ampersand, something like that, okay? Settings. I'm also going to ask you to select 2 of these boxes that are highlighted up on the screen. Can everybody see that fairly clearly? I'll try to make it a little bit larger. I may have to shrink it again later, but basically, I need you to select these 2 options so that you don't have to constantly log into Test Hound to get information that's important to you. The first one is topics in a message board. So let's look at the discussion board really quickly. This discussion board exists so that you can interact with other testing coordinators across the entire state. Anybody that uses Test Hound posts their questions here to be answered by you, to be answered by other people in your district, to be answered by some of our staff. Now, a little word of caution, we don't really want this to be the place that you post emergency questions. So if you need an answer within 5 or 6 hours, don't post here. Go to your DTC, go to some of your district staff, have them call us, okay? That's the first thing. If it's a big emergency, you need to have your district reach out to us, and then we'll help fix whatever might be going on. If it's day of testing, some people post here, so I'll let you know we do monitor this very heavily the 2 weeks prior to testing and the day of testing. But if it's an emergency, you really don't want to post here. You want to have your district people reach out to us. That being said, for the rest of the year, most of the time, you're going to have days or weeks where you can just kind of get the answer when it comes to you. We generally wait about 24 hours when we respond in this forum so that other testing coordinators can respond. The reason being, you guys are down in the trenches. You're going to end up using the system probably more than I will, and you're going to come up with some ideas and ways to use it that maybe I don't even think of. So we like to give other people a chance to answer. Going back to my account, the other thing that I want you to highlight, I'm going to lower this a little bit. Here we go. Email me when a new post is updated, when a new update is posted. The update section, right now, there's really only one update. We post updates when we get information from TEA, from Pearson, from ETS, or anything that might affect your usage of the system. We don't spam you with that information. We try not to post stuff all the time, but if it's something that's going to affect how you function in Test Hound, we'll post an update. You want to get that email so that you don't have to keep checking to know that something has happened. Whenever we add new features, and we're constantly adding new features, we will post an update. Whenever we do a video refresher, and I believe we're looking at doing a video version of this training probably towards the end of October. So if any of you guys want a refresher, there'll be an update that'll give you a link. You can register and you can watch us online and even interact with us because there's a place for you to post questions. Let's go over to the Help tab real quick. First thing I'm going to highlight is the user manual. And you'll notice as it comes up, it's going to take a little while to load. My recommendation for you is when you get a chance, click on this manual and save it to your desktop somewhere. Save it so that it doesn't have to constantly load. The reason being, if I go up here to my table of contents, I can click on any piece in that table of contents and it takes me directly to what I need to see. And I can click on the other little back to contents tab. I don't have to search through the whole document. But when you do it online, sometimes it's still adding pages and it'll keep bouncing to the first page. So save it to your desktop and it'll save you some clicking. You'll get an update. We're probably going to be giving a new version of this, I would guess sometime in December or in January. So when that comes out, you'll get an email update, and you can download the new one if you'd like. A couple of other things that we'll post on the Help tab. If, for example, Pearson was always good at throwing us for a curve. They would put things out that would be off or different or wrong, and we'd have to fix them for our users. Whenever that happens, a lot of times we end up creating a new feature because we have to work quickly to make sure that the system keeps helping you. And if we add a new feature for something like that, we'll post it in the Help tab. You can just click on the video, and you can watch the video to learn how to use the new feature. We will also post our video refreshers, the one that we're going to do in late October. We'll post those on this page as well. All right. Now, I'm going to spend maybe about 10 minutes talking about what things look like at the district level, because I think it's important for you to understand how things function at the district level in order to see how that affects you at the campus level and vice versa. So we're going to go through some things really quick. The best part is for these guys, their job is not necessarily doing the work in the system other than maybe making sure the data is flowing. Their job is to be able to kind of watch you guys and assist as you need things. So they can see everything that you're doing. Whenever you need them to look at your data, you can say, hey, log on to my campus. They can click on your campus and check it out. The first thing I'm going to talk about is users. We have 3 types of user accounts. District level staff can do everything at every campus. Most of you guys are campus level users. You can do everything at your specific campus. And if you ever needed to assist another campus testing coordinator, they can assign you to multiple campuses if need be. We also have something called a specialist user. A specialist user exists in the system for the sole purpose of assisting you with accommodations, accommodation input, making sure that those accommodations are correct, making sure that they're input as the ARDs are happening. You can have somebody that's given the specialist role. They can log in at the end of the ARD, take the paperwork, put it in the system. So now you've got almost immediately live updated information about what your students need. Now, that process is going to be something that you guys are, I think, going to have some other conversations about. The one thing that I'm going to say is that we're going to talk about it a little bit later, and we're going to talk about some checks and balances to make sure that data is going in correctly and that it is verified and definitely correct before you actually test a student. Accommodations. Really, all I want you to see here is that we have gone in this morning and we uploaded the state triangle. These are the definitions as they are given by the state of what accommodations should be. Your district has ownership of these accommodations now. You can see there's an edit feature or delete. They can also create new accommodations if need be. So whatever paperwork you guys use, if the definitions are slightly different, they can go in and they can edit it and make it look exactly like your paperwork from your district looks. I would say, and this is one conversation that we didn't have, you're probably going to want to give your district staff at least a couple of days before you really start putting in accommodations, because you want them to have time to set that stuff up before you start putting them in. Does that make sense? So at some point, I'll get Lisa to give you guys maybe a day or something when you can have access to it. Campuses. Campuses. And I keep clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, so, and I'm using a demo district, so this is not your actual data. But you can go in, you can add campuses, you can delete campuses, you can edit the types of tests and grades that are on the campus. So this is a little FYI for later today, as we're starting to work in our hands-on practice after lunch. If you get in and you look at the tests available to you and you go, wait a minute, I'm at a middle school and I should have access to this and this and this, and I'm not seeing it. Let one of us know, and we can assist you by getting those tests added to your campus. If you're missing a grade level. Now, elementary, you won't see kindergarten or first grade. They won't be in the system at all. And I'm not sure, did we add second grade in for you guys? Okay, so you won't see kindergarten first, you will see second. So if you're missing the first 2 grades, that's okay. Teachers. When we get to the teacher level file, you guys are going to end up having to do some maintenance on your own. There are some people that we found in your file that are no longer at the campus that they're listed. You can just delete those guys out, and I'll take you through that. There are some people that are no longer with your district. You can delete those guys out. There's people that are duplicated. Delete them out. You also, I'm going to guess, because you guys are a fairly large district, that there are some people that you call on during testing that are either long-term subs, they're retired teachers, they're still certified, and they come in and they assist you as administrators during tests. I'm seeing a few nods. You will be able to add those guys in, and so we'll take you through that process here in a bit as well. Students, this file comes directly from your student management system. So this is exactly what you guys should be able to see when you log into whatever student management system you have. If you notice that something is incorrect, typically it's a transcription error, but it would happen on your end, not on ours. So if you see something is incorrect, how do you get it to fix in TestHound? Do you edit it directly in TestHound? I'm seeing a couple of shaking heads, so that's the correct answer, no. How would we fix an incorrect piece of data on the student level? You're going to have to go to your PEIMS clerk, get them to fix it, okay? It's fairly common, guys. I don't want that to sound like I'm throwing any blame at your PEIMS people. That's a very common thing to have happen. So simply let your PEIMS clerk know, maybe, for example, we've got Islari Abram right here, the very first one. Maybe she's supposed to be 504, and she's not marked 504. That's easy to fix. That's a very good question. So your data comes to us on nightly feeds. So if we fix it today, it'll be fixed in TestHound tomorrow. Now, if you're in a rush, maybe and we'll talk a little bit about day of testing procedures. There are going to be some times when you might need to make some edits or maybe actually create a student, but it would really only be for day of testing type stuff. Go ahead.
If you're having issues with TestHound, you need to email me. Ty just texted he's getting some requests. Oh, I didn't even see you in the back of the room. We're adding people into the system, and if you'll add them to the spreadsheet link that you got that were supposed to be done yesterday, at all possible, we can add directly from there if you didn't fill it out. If not, please put all your information in the email. You need your campus, who it is, their email address, and what role they are. That way we can get them in and out of the system while he's talking so that they can get a username for after lunch, if you don't mind.
Okay. Marshall's checking on us right now. Let me just let him know we're good. Okay. So, moving forward, there's not a whole lot to see here in schedules, but I am going to click on it. Right now, you have student schedule data in the system. That's all you really need to know on this level. So let's talk about test administrations. All right. You can see right here we've got a demo test administration. That administration is here for you to practice, to play with. You can do anything in the system that you want inside that demo, and you can't really break anything with the exception of one little piece. So we're going to just highlight that right now, and I'll highlight it again before you leave today. Any accommodations that you put in today, even in the demo, they go live. So when we practice this afternoon, I'm going to ask you to do 3 students, just practice some accommodation setup. And when we get done, I'm going to ask you to go in and delete those accommodations out. When I get to it, you're going to find that that's extremely easy to do, doesn't take long, but I just want you to remember, if you're in the demo, accommodations count all the time. All right. You can create an administration. So I want you to think of an administration as a folder. The administration is not the actual test. It's just the document. It's the thing that holds the folder, holds the document, excuse me. So if you create an administration, it's a big kind of container, and your tests are the individual things that go inside of it. So if you create, for example, let's say you do an October benchmark. You're probably doing multiple grades, right? You're probably doing multiple subjects, I would assume, as well. Probably doing reading and math or something like that. Whatever it might be. You do October benchmark, and then you create those grade level tests inside of it. So 3rd grade math, 3rd grade reading, 4th grade math, 4th grade reading, okay? Does that make sense, that concept of folder documents? Okay, if at any point, and we might not create those today, but if at any point you guys get stuck on that and need some help, let Lisa know. And if she doesn't have a chance or can't remember how to do it, I'll call you if need be. But go through Lisa to get to me. All right. We're going to skip over the tests themselves for the moment. We're going to go to inventory. So notice, to get to your inventory, materials, oops, I should have brought my little wireless mouse. Wrong one, there we go. Materials, inventory. You have to select the administration. Right now we just have the Z-Star demo. In November, at some point, early November, we're going to create the makeup test, not the makeup test, yeah, the retesting for December. We'll create that, and so you'll be able to choose that administration, and at that point, Lisa will go into it, probably TAMS, I would assume, and download a file, which I'm about to do, and upload it into the system. And when she does that, you're going to see this. I'm going to choose my administration. I'm going to click here to find the file that I've already saved and upload it. Okay, so at this point, I have brought in all of the inventory that, in this case, Pearson, or whatever publisher it might be, has said I'm supposed to be receiving for my district. You can see that it's got the campus name, it's got the type, the test name, the version, it's got form on there. If it's a Form 1, it should already tell you. However, just FYI, last year, Pearson sent out all the makeup tests as Form 1s, but they didn't put Form 1 in the file, so people had to do some little editing there, but it's easy to do. It's got the range of the booklet numbers and the order number and the quantity. Now, this column here, quantity, is going to be important. If you have data in that column, you get a red line. Red line means nothing has been done yet. It literally means the publisher said this is what you're supposed to get. So we probably need to take that a step further, because once we know that the inventory is coming, you guys probably have it showing up at your campus on pallets. They're put in your secured areas, and you're going to have to do some actual work with it at that point, right? We're going to skip down to a campus now, and we're going to talk about all the pieces until we get up to the inventorying part. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to choose, as if I was Lisa, I'm going to choose the high school. And let's just go down to the campus level as well. Okay. Now, before we get to the materials, let's talk a little bit about what we see here. We've got some alerts. We've got some alerts that are telling me I've got new data in the system. Now, this is good, because now if I have students that have unenrolled from my campus, I know the day after. You don't have to go talk to the PEMS clerk. It's already there for you. If someone enrolls in your campus, you find out the next day. So as long as we're not talking day of testing, this is a pretty reliable system as far as staying caught up with things. We've got some E-Star updates. Now, it'll probably have a different name there. It'll be whatever your district staff decides to call it. But today we're going to work on putting accommodations in manually. Eventually, at some point in the next month, I would say, probably sooner than that, your district is going to start doing an upload of accommodations. So whatever is in your accommodations warehouse is going to be ported directly into Test Hound. Now, you'll want to know when that happens, so it's going to give you an alert. You can then view those changes, and if you want to look at them individually, you can look at each student and see what the changes are. New accommodations appear as green. Accommodations that are being deleted out because they're no longer valid turn red, and you can approve each of those. You also see when you have teachers that have left your district if you're doing the file constantly. I believe with your teacher file, though, to save you some time, we're only going to run it once a year. So you won't see that until next year after today. All right, let's look at, well, first, let me just go ahead and approve those. So this afternoon, I'm going to take you through this process. You're going to get a baseline by approving everything. So you're going to do what I'm doing right now. You're going to click on each of these changes. You're going to view and see which person it is. And today we're just going to accept that this data is correct. Most of the time that's what you're going to want to do. Click view on my changes here. Look, these are all the students that I'm importing accommodations for. Now I can look at each of those individually if I want to. The first couple of times that you get imports of data like this, you might want to spend some time looking at it. You might want to go through each student for a little while, maybe the first month or so, just to make sure that everything looks good, that the imports are happening exactly as you want them to. But at some point, you're going to start to trust the data, and you're going to approve all of them, which is what I just did. approve those teachers. And we're good to go. Okay, so by this afternoon, your screen is going to look just like that. It's going to be void of all alerts. And so now let's go through some of the pieces that you're going to work on today. Teachers. I'm going to walk you through this. We're going to delete some people out. So let's just do that right now. I'm going to take the first one on my list, Laura Barnhart. I'm going to copy her number so that it's easy to add her back in. So I'm looking at my list and I go, you know what? I think Laura is gone. I'm just going to delete her. All right, she's not on my list now. Then later on, my secretary comes in and says, hey, you know what? Laura is actually still here. Oh, okay, fine. I can add her back in. I don't want to click new because she's still in the system. I'm either going to type in her number or type in her name and find her and activate her. And there she is. She's available again. I can also, if I want to, create new people. And really, the only three important pieces of information would be the ID number, the first name, and the last name. The rest of it's kind of extraneous. We're not going to do anything with the emails at the moment, so you don't have to put those in. ID numbers, and I'm seeing a question, so I'm about to answer that. Do you know for your substitute teachers, do you know their employee ID numbers? Or can you get those? So my recommendation would be if you're using substitutes, that you put their actual employee ID number in. That's just a recommendation. You don't have to do it. You can make up a random number if you want. You can just put 1000, 1001, 1002. But if you're going to make up numbers, I would say stick with nomenclature and just stay with it. Question?
What is that ID number?
It's whatever you want to call it.
On their badge.
Oh, okay. Sorry, didn't quite get the question.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, so now we know. As long as you put an ID number in there, the name will appear on your list. I had somebody yesterday at one of my trainings create a name, put in an email, and then hit create, but they forgot to give them the ID number. And then they couldn't find the person. And that's because if you don't put the ID number in there, it won't create them. All right, students. Let's look at students here real quick. And I've already done this, so let me just kind of proceed real quick and make sure that I've got those 4 updated, close. Okay, what I just did is something that you're probably not normally going to do. With districts that don't have automated data, they will take their accommodations at the end of the year and we archive all their data, and when they come back in August, they do this thing called accommodation histories, and what it does is whatever accommodations were active in the system for those students at the end of the last year pulls into the next year. So I just did that to make some changes, and I'm good. Normally what you would see is it was totally green and now we've got red triangles. So let's talk about what those triangles mean. What do you guys think the triangles are for? I heard a couple of people. Okay. Full screen? Okay. Go for it. While Lisa is getting me on full screen here, it's for your accommodations. If you've got a green triangle, that means that they have no accommodations in any subject. If they have a red triangle, it means they've got at least one accommodation in one subject. Try.
I wanted me to do that, but that's why I didn't.
Is it right here? Full screen?
Yep, there you go.
Here we go.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hopefully that'll help a little bit there, get some of that tab stuff out of the way. All right. So let's look at manually putting in an accommodation. We said the triangle was the reason that was related to accommodation. So if I want to put in an accommodation, I have to click on the triangle. Let's do that real quick. So we've got Kevin Abramov here, and I need to give him an accommodation. I'm going to be doing a math test today, so I'm only going to put in a math accommodation. One thing to note, when you have your students' data there, you probably have all their accommodations for all their subjects, right? So when you manually put one of these guys in, you'll do English, then you'll do math, then you'll do social studies, or if you're at the elementary, you'll do reading, writing, social studies, math, etc. So just remember, you can, when you're on one student's page, do all of their subject accommodations. I'm at a high school, so I only have access to English, math, science, and social studies. I'm doing a math test, so that's what I'm going to put in. Notice that there is not a save button on this screen. Have you ever been working in an Excel file, and you've got your list going, you've got those accommodations set up, and then the power goes out, or the computer crashes, and you lost all that work? I'm hearing some laughter, maybe some cries too. You don't have to worry about that with Test Hound. You click a box, the screen refreshes, it saves every single time. If I want to back that out, I just click the box again, it's saved again. Fairly simple. Now, I gave him supplemental aids. I'm just going to put needs math chart and click out of that box. When I click out, it refreshes again, it's saved. He now has an accommodation in math that I will see on multiple reports in multiple locations as a check and a balance to ensure that he gets what he needs. I'm going to do another thing now for another 2 students. So I've got 2 students that you high school people will understand what I'm talking about here because this is a high school situation. So I've got 2 guys, Isaac and Jared, and they are huge fans of Algebra 1 Semester 2. This is like their 5th time through the class. They may even be going for a 6th. And, but strangely enough, they've passed the EOC. They passed the EOC, but maybe it's the cute teacher, I don't know, but 5th or 6th time through, who knows. So do they need to be able to be put into a test if they've already passed the EOC? No, we don't want them in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Jared's triangle. I'm going to go to math, and I am going to change his test version to do not test. And what that's going to do is it's going to, it's going to keep me from assigning him a booklet. I will not be able to give him a test booklet. It will not happen. So that's the first check. The second thing is I'm going to see that DNT as I'm organizing my classes, and I can actually sort by test types. So I can take all of my do not testers and I can put them in an alternate room where they can spend their day studying or whatever they do when they're not testing.
The high school people love you.
Thank you. I wish that it was my idea, but it's not. But I'll take the credit today. All right, so we're going to do one more. If you're in the student view and you know that you're just going to the next student in the list, you can simply click Next. Let me show you one other thing. Students, if I wanted to get to Isaac here, note that Jared's triangle didn't turn red. Why did it not turn red? Yeah, he doesn't have any accommodations. Test type is not an accommodation, not in this case. Do not test is not an accommodation. So watch this. I'm going to take Isaac's number, but I'm going to start back here at Kevin. Sometimes you've got a list of like 5 or 6 kids and you need to do some specific work on their files. You don't want to have to keep clicking back and forth. If you can type their number in right here to student ID and then click Find, it'll take you straight to them. There's a couple of ways to get to the data. Now, I do need to click on his triangle now because the triangle is the accommodation piece. I'll show you that other information in just a bit. So once again, I'm doing math, and I'm going to change his test version. Let's talk really quickly about some of those other pieces, though. Notice that there's multiple test versions in there. Some of them are older versions that may still apply to some people that are in the system. But you've got Star A, Star Alt 2, Star Form 1, Star L, SOA, Star Spanish. So if you've got students that you know need to take those tests, this will be one way for you to ensure that they get the right test. The worst thing to have happen, the worst feeling in the world is when you've gotten 30 minutes into a test and somebody goes, oh, wait a minute, wrong test type. Or consequently, the person who's reading the oral administration ended up with the wrong test type. That can be bad. So let's make this one a do not test, and we are good to go. All right. One other thing. So remember, once again, the triangle is for the accommodations themselves. All you have to do is click on the pieces, but make sure you're changing to the appropriate subject. If I put in an accommodation for English, will it show up when I'm setting up a math test? No, it won't. If you have a math accommodation, you must put it in under math. These things are subject specific. All right, the other thing I was going to show you was if you click on the student's name, this is the screen that you get when you're individually approving students that are coming onto your campus. You can see that you can change their status, if I can get my cursor there, to new student, unenrolled, re-enrolled. So if you've got a student that you approved and then you go, oh, wait a minute, Johnny is the one that every year checks out on a Friday before the test and then shows up the day of the test. I mean, you guys never have that, but I've seen that before. So you can do a couple of things. You can either approve all of them and go back and change his status if you need to, or if he's left, I wouldn't approve him at all. I'd just leave him in the system. And that way you know when he comes back on Monday, inevitably, you've already got him in the room, he's already got a test booklet, you're good to go. This will also show you if we have tests. I'll show it to you later in the day. If you've assigned a test to a student, you'll see the test here. You'll see the booklet if you've assigned them a booklet. And if you need to, let's say that you had someone check out and you need to reclaim that booklet. You can delete the booklet out from this screen and you can delete the student out from this screen. So it'll also show you if they're coming from another campus. 'Cause you guys are large and have lots of campuses, and I'm sure that there's a little bit of campus hopping. It will show you their previous accommodations and test form histories. So you'll know what type of test they were taking if they were taking a test in your district somewhere else. All right, rooms. Today when you get to the screen, you're going to see nothing here. There's not going to be anything at all. The reason being, the data's there, but you have to do something with it. TestHound will look at your student schedules and it will pull all of the rooms that are on your student schedules into your rooms table. But you're going to have to click this little pull spot right here. Let me just highlight it. Right there, you'll click pull. It'll go through all the student schedules and it will add those rooms in. Now, you're going to find though, I think you're already very painfully aware of the fact that some of those rooms are not going to be rooms that people take classes in. I mean, we had a kid taking a test in a broom closet with somebody. So, I mean, you know how it goes sometimes. You find those nook and crannies, you put them in the system, and you can manually do that by adding new. So today we're going to spend some time adding in some new spots. Maybe you've got kids that are testing in the computer lab and there's never a class in there. Maybe you've got some students that are in the counseling center, the career counseling center. Wherever they may be, you can add those rooms in and you can use them. Consequently, and I don't know if you can see it here on this one because somebody went in and deleted out some of the stuff I did. Every trainer uses this one. Anybody use a large room and put multiple groups in there? Like maybe they've got a library and they put some kids in the front and another group in the back, something like that. So sometimes you fit them in where you can. So what you can do is you can have one called Library FR for front and then Library BK for back, and it will treat them as separate classrooms. Then you can assign teachers and students and get those things organized the way you need to. So we'll spend some time this afternoon creating those, but I did want you to know you've got control over the rooms that you use and you can put whatever you need to there. All right, we're not going to worry about test administrations or tests yet. We are now ready to inventory our materials. So let's go back to where we were a little while ago. We saw this screen here. Let's go to materials, inventory. Now I'm going to see an inventory list that is specifically for this campus. Yes?
You haven't said anything about kids testing in Spanish versus English in our dual language classes. Where is that?
So are they going to be getting a specific, I'm assuming they're getting the Star Spanish test type, yes?
Well, some of my kids do. When we do our language test, that's when we're kind of filling out to see which language is the best language for them to test in.
Okay. So what you would do is for the kids that are getting the Star Spanish version, you'll set that test type as Star Spanish, and then you'll scan that type of booklet directly to them. So the kids that are getting the regular book, they'll just get a regular one, and the ones that need the Star Spanish will get the Spanish version. And then there's a spot in there for notes as well, so if you need to put any notes in on the math section or the English section or whatever spot you need to, you can type notes in there as well. as little reminders. Okay, so here we have the inventory for this campus. I'm only going to be dealing with just the inventory for the math test today. So let's look at this. It's early in the year, you probably don't want to see this, but your district people, they call you and they say, hey, we're getting ready to deliver your materials, and you get the materials into your bat cave with all your laser sharks and security and stuff. And thank you. It's early and I'm starting slow. You get these. Sometimes when I hold this up, people scream because they're like, oh, I don't want to see that. These cover sheets, these are on those packets, right? Nobody wants to see this because this means you have to actually do something now, right? Who wants that? Now these are great though, because this is actually, while it does imply that you have to do some work, it's going to be a little bit less than it would be in some cases because you can scan a lot of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that first line of data. The first line says that we have Algebra 1 booklets, and they are the regular version of the STAR, and here's the range. We've got 60. Now, that tells me, because normally they come in packs of 5 or 10, I'm looking at these, and okay, there's 5 in these packets. All right. So that means that for this entire line, each of those packets has 5. I've got 20 packets. So I'm going to put them in sequential order, starting with the lowest, going all the way to the highest, right? Put them in sequential order, and then count the spines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., all the way to the end. If I have complete packets, I'm ready to proceed with scanning. If I've got an incomplete packet, and it has happened on occasion, where maybe Pearson sent a packet that said it had 5 and it only had 4. What do you do if that happens? If you get an incomplete packet?
That's what I heard someone say. Call Lisa.
That's exactly what you do. You call Lisa or one of these guys, and they're going to have to reach out to the publisher, who is probably not going to admit that they messed up. They're just going to say, oh, yes, that's back-ordered. We're going to update your checklist here in a couple of days. They'll send you the other booklet. They'll update the checklist. Consequently, you will need to re-upload the checklist once they update it, and everything will be happy, and then you can scan. Yes?
Is this new iTracks?
Yes.
Yeah.
iTracks is gone. This will do everything that iTracks did plus 1,000.
So I didn't know you weren't using iTracks. This could be awkward, but I'm just gonna keep rolling with it here. All right, so moving right along, you're gonna take, if everything is complete, then you're gonna scan that first barcode on the first packet. I see people averting their eyes. They're like, no, don't reality, no. Here's the first barcode, so you scan that one. Then you go all the way to the end, and you scan the last barcode on the last packet. So how many scans do I need to make if I've got 300 booklets in a range? 2, okay? Only 2 scans. Now, you can scan each packet in if you want.
I know some of
But
you
no.
want to do that. To continue with the
No.
trend of how exciting it was.
Yeah, there's no need for that. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I've got a cheat sheet. I'm going to go grab my scanner. I haven't actually, and I think, Lisa, did you guys buy scanners from us?
We have
You
the
have
ones
some.
currently
Okay.
from our other ones.
So as those break, if you need to replace them, this is the first time I've actually charged this scanner since like November. So I use it quite a bit. And our scanners, the wireless ones, will work all the way out into the hallway and around the corner. So just kind of FYI.
We originally, I heard someone ask, supposed to speak in this thing.
Does it work?
Sorry, but due to the recording, I'm supposed to speak in the microphone. I have a loud mouth anyway. I don't need the microphone, but for the sake of recording, I'll speak in here. Someone asked, are we buying the scanners? Eventually, yes, we will buy scanners as ours wear out. But first, we are absorbing the cost of purchasing the new program that we're having. So you will continue to use your current old scanners, unfortunately, and then we will start upgrading them as we have funds and as funds are allocated.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cause that particular conversation to happen. So I guess I won't walk across the room and show them how far I can scan. But I could. So I'll do that right now. If you want to scan, you scan the first barcode on the first booklet, and then the last barcode on the last booklet, and it's going to be as simple as this. I'm actually going to do all of them from way over here. So first one, last one. Now, you're going to hear me scan a third time. When I scan that third time, and this will work with your scanners as well, when you scan the third time, you're actually just hitting enter. So there you go. We'll do the next line. I'm just going to do 4 lines real quick. Just pretend that I actually counted. Nobody rat me out. Okay. Now, it's a little hard to read from where some of you are at, but at the bottom of the screen there, you can see the booklets received, you'll see the range, and you'll also see the quantity. So we've got 60, 10, 5, and 2. That lines up with that first column, which is the quantity that was being sent to me from, in this case, Pearson, but whichever publisher it might be. Now, when you scan them, it puts data in the actual column. So now, when those equal, it changes from red to white. So now you have verified, you have certified that this, these booklets, this inventory, is actually at your campus. At the same time, you now can assign these booklets to students individually. So it will actually be, you will tie a booklet directly to a specific student. All right, there's some other things that I'm going to show you in the screen, but I'm not going to show them to you until a little bit later. I do have to kind of watch my clock, though. Okay, we're doing good on time. All right, I'm just going to click on home. Questions?
So booklets don't go to test administrators, they go to kids.
They go to kids.
Does it do that automatically, or do we have to scan them in?
You'll have to scan them directly to the kids, but I've got a couple of ways to do that. One of them that it's basically a single scan. So depending on how you like to set up your tubs, I can probably make it work for you whatever way you need it to work.
So now we're putting the names instead of getting labels. So now we're putting, typically we get 22 books and they hand them out. No. So now we literally are putting names in the books.
Yep. Yep.
When you get in there, it's going to basically be a single scan. When he shows you how to do it, just like you've scanned the things in, it'll scan them completely out, and it will help prevent any tests going to the wrong student. It will also track when you're trying to go back. We've had several situations in the district where we have to go back and find the test booklet itself because a parent is challenging the scan. We've had to go back and find the actual test booklet, not us, but TEA. Has to go back in all of your boxes and find test booklets to go back and basically reutilize for testing. So this will be one simple, easy fix that you literally don't have to do anything but do a quick scan, and it prints for you and does everything 100 and tracks all of those booklet numbers and everything, so that there's another safeguard put in addition to what we normally. Lots of campuses did this, but they printed their own labels and then took them apart and affixed them to every single booklet. This will track everything for you automatically. DAP, we now order booklets for you guys specifically, and we don't transfer booklets at all. We transfer the answer documents only. So you will set up in your system the same way, just like the campus would.
Okay. Let me get back down to the campus here. And let's prove that and get that out of there. Confirm. Okay. I am now going to set up a test. Now, I'm going to have to do this a couple of different ways because we've got different levels of administrators here. I'm assuming we've got a mix of elementary through high school, right? Okay. So I'm going to show you kind of the typical elementary way up to a certain point. And then there's a spot where elementary and high school, their procedures kind of become the same. I'll stop there, reset, and we'll go back and start at the beginning with high school. You're going to find that it doesn't take me long to explain this, but it's going to take me longer to explain it and do it than it will take you to actually do it when you're doing this on your own. So typically what I see, and not everybody does this the same way, but what I normally see is that an elementary campus, they take their kids, they put them in their homeroom setting, and then they move their special accommodation kids out to special accommodation rooms. Is that how most of you do it? I'm seeing a few nods. Okay, if anybody doesn't do it that way, if you have a few minutes towards the end, let me know after the practice, and I'll get a group of you together if you do it any way differently, and I'll help you get through it as well. So the first thing I've got to do is I've got to put my students in the test. Well, I've got a toolbox at the top. Everything that you need to do when it comes to adding students or moving students can pretty much be done in this area. So let's do that right now. I'm going to add some students. At the elementary level, I choose Add. I choose Grade. And here's where we're going to have to pretend a little bit, so use your imagination. We're going to pretend these are 5th graders because all I have in my system are 9th graders today. All right. So these are all 5th graders. Ignore the 9s. So they're all in the test. What I need to do now is I need to get them into their homerooms. So I need to assign them to those rooms. Well, that's pretty easy. All I have to do is click on what part of the toolbox bar? Assign rooms. All right, so I'm going to click on that, and then of the options available, which one do you think would get me into their homerooms? Period. So let's do that. Do you guys all use the same period for homeroom, like first or second or third, or is it all over the place? Second period? First? 0 period? 0? Okay. I hear a lot of different answers, so I'm just going to choose second. Let me throw this out. Today, part of our process is going to be making sure that your schedule is ported over exactly as they need to be. So if we get to your campus and we're doing this part, and you find that your home, this is very common, the homeroom period is not there, let us know, and we'll work with Lisa and the data staff to get that imported in, okay? Okay, so now we've got all of our students with a single click, well, maybe 2 clicks. We've got all the students in their homerooms. At this point, I need to put some extra rooms in because I have accommodated students. Well, I have to have a place to put them. So I need to add some rooms to my test. I can do that 2 ways. I can either go over here where it says Rooms, Add, and I can use the drop-down menu. Or I like to do this personally. Click the little plus symbol there, and I can check which ones I want to add. So that'll also give me access to the descriptions. I'm going to put the conference room in, and I'm going to put the, the library. Whoops. Submit. Okay. So now I've got those 2 rooms. Now in your situation, it's probably going to be more than 2 rooms. You might end up having 30 of what I'm only going to have 4 of. If you have a large group, dump all, like for example, maybe you've got 30 or 35 small group kids. Dump all of them into the first room, and then I'm going to show you how to move the other kids to another room, okay? So let me sort them first. Let me filter the kids, and let's move the kids around, and then I'll show you a few more tricks. So if I'm going to filter the kids, it's as simple as clicking Filter. And let's look at the different filter options because you can do a lot here. You can filter by accommodation. You can filter by course, by grade, by online testing. That little box there, you can do like a custom setup where you go through and you go, well, I want these 5 kids to be in a certain room. Click the online thing. You can move them. There's different ways to use the system. You can sort by room. Have you ever had a situation where the day before or the day of testing, suddenly a room was no longer available? It happens. You can actually take all those kids, pick that room, and move them to another room, and then reprint your reports for that room, and your documentation is accurate. You can also sort by test version. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to filter by accommodation, and I'm going to filter by oral signed administration. And I'm going to assign all of those students to the conference room. And bam, now they're all in the conference room. I'm going to choose another accommodation. Let's go for the small group administration kids. And I'm going to move those guys over to the library. You can see we've got some kids that kind of overlapped. There's different ways that you can sort it. When people go, well, I've got like 30 kids that are small group and 20 kids that are oral administration. Okay, sort by small group first and move all those kids into one room. Then sort by oral administration, and it'll pull those other 20 kids out and put them in the other room, and you're good to go. So this afternoon, as we play around with it, if you have some more questions like that, just throw it out there. I want to kind of acknowledge something right now. This is probably going to be information overload for quite a few people. It's a lot to absorb. So I do want to kind of put you at ease on a couple of things, and I think we've already mentioned it. There's going to be a recording we're making today, and we're going to have some recordings up here and some chances for you to interact with us live later in the year. So, between that and the online messaging and then Lisa reaching out to us, I just want to make sure that you guys feel at ease with what we're doing. And if you have any questions, once again, keep asking. Okay, so let's go back. We put all of our elementary kids in the test. We put them in their homeroom. We put rooms in for accommodated settings, and we filtered out for those kids. Moved them into their accommodated setting rooms. At this point, I'm ready to add teachers and assign booklets, right? Okay. I'm going to stop elementary for the moment, and I'm going to reset and go to what the typical high school setup looks like. And at that point, middle school, you guys, you're kind of as awkward as the kids that you work with, and I do having worked with middle school kids. Because when I was a district administrator, I supervised 8 middle schools. You are going to choose what you kind of flow all over the place. You either do things like elementary, or you do things kind of like high school. So I'm not going to specifically address middle school, just to say whatever you do, I'm probably covering it today, and if I'm not, let me know. So let's reset. A little reminder, when you do something that's going to affect your test data or any major piece that you need to really kind of think about what you're doing, TestHound is going to throw up little warnings like this one. Resetting will remove all test booklets, students, rooms, and teachers from this test session. This cannot be undone. So if you click reset, first things first, you can't accidentally reset it without clicking on confirm. So if you clicked reset and then confirm, you did that consciously. Just be aware of that. You can't accidentally reset.
Just this screen, or is this everything you've done up to this point?
That'll get rid of everything I've done in the test, just in the test. It won't erase like accommodations. It won't erase any of that. For the math test. Yeah, it'll get rid of everything in the math test. So watch the screen kind of go away here. Now there's 0. Nothing is there. I've got to go back and do the work. We want you to make sure that you're being very conscious if you have to reset something. So let's look at high school. For high school, typically what happens is you take all of your kids and you put them in by the course that they're taking. In this case, we're doing an algebra test, so we're going to want to add students by course. And when we add students by course, we're going to pick Algebra 1. What TestHound does is it's going to look at all of the schedules on your campus, all the student schedules, and it's going to say who is using the PEAM CO22 course identification number for Algebra 1, which students are taking those classes. And it's going to give you the versions that line up with that PEAM's code. Most of the time, you're just going to choose all and click submit. Those are all the kids that are taking a course that's going to give them Algebra 1 credit as designed by the state. So now we have all of our students in the test, but we're not quite done at the high school because there's a couple of things we have to do. One, you remember our 2 gentlemen that have already passed the course? We're going to need to take care of them. We need to get them out of the test situation. I can go ahead and do that now. Let's give them a room. We'll put them on the stage, and tell them not to fall off. All right, now how do I move those kids? How do I filter out and then move those kids from where they are to here? Say that again? So we do need to assign them to a room, but we're going to do it by filtering them, and I heard it somewhere over here. Test version. Specifically, do not test. So let's do that right now. I'm going to click filter. I'm going to go by test version. I'm going to choose do not test. And now notice, I only have one room right now in the entire session. That's why that's the only option. Let's move those kids real quick. All right, so they're out of the way. Now, am I done putting kids in this test session? Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
The kids that still have to pass the EOC that are not taking the class.
Yes, exactly. And you guys are tracking those guys. I'm sure you're tracking those students. I'm not going to call you out on it, but I'm assuming that most of you are keeping a file somewhere, an Excel spreadsheet that's got all the students' information, whether or not they passed. And the important piece is going to be when you get into Test Hound today, I believe we're using the local ID number. So if that ID number is on your spreadsheet, you're golden. Because all you have to do is this. Watch this. I've got I forget how to, exit, no. How do you get out of full screen mode? We'll figure this out later. I hit escape and it didn't do it. I'll figure it out later. Let me just show you, and then I'll when we come back from lunch, I'll show you an example of what the file looks like. But basically, you're going to take your file of all the kids that need to test, and you're going to cut out everything in the file except for the student ID column. That's all you need. So you'll upload a file with just the student IDs, just like this. You'll click on Students, Add, come on, Add by File. And I do have a file that I can choose. Load by student. It's got to be a CSV file, and I can submit. All right. It didn't add any kids because those were literally all the kids I had in the session. So you can't break it. If you've already got a kid in the session and they're also on that file, that's fine. You can't add the student twice. But anybody that you were missing would now be in the test. I think it's local. Local. Yeah. Local ID.
So this in with elementary. So
Mhm.
I've got students that are taking the second administration of reading. But
You-
I've got all my kids that have taken the test. With their ID number, I'm going to move the ones that didn't pass into my second administration.
Yes, yeah, you would, when the second administration is available for you to set up, you would simply upload the file with the kids that need to take that test in here just like I just did, and it'll pull all those students into the test.
And our files that come from the state, we can upload those into CSV and basically upload that. So when your kids have results, we can use the kids that did not pass and basically upload into those files. Same with our high school students. Obviously, your spreadsheets are probably the most accurate because you're not having to run down weird situations, such as ARD, the glorified statements from an ARD committee or something like that. And lots of high school people around this room have run after and looked after kids to see if they still need to test. But so your spreadsheets, we can either convert or we can look at the DAT file. But when we upload the DAT file, it's still going to have some of those SPED students or some of those unusual circumstances that we're still going to have to run down one way or the other. But it's still way better than where we were. Yes, there's two. Emily.
You know how you'll have like say I'll have fourth graders and fifth graders, but I'll have a group in there that's gonna take the Spanish for everybody, or this group will take Spanish, but they're being smaller, take it in English. Is there gonna be a way that I input that information?
That'll be input on the accommodation screen. So as you do the accommodations for each student, you'll choose No, but it's available in the accommodation screen. I think you guys can see where I'm at over there. Let me just show you really quick. So if I click on Jared here, and I wanted to make sure that he got the star Spanish for math, I would simply go over to the test type, and right there is star SP. And if I select that, it will make me have to give him a star Spanish test.
So we would have to do that for all of our lit kids.
It's the same with here you see the star A version, the star alt. You're going to see the star SOA. So all of those kids that we have anything special for, once this information is in, it will not allow you to put a kid in a wrong area. So if you have a student that's under star Spanish and you're assigning him an English book, it's not going to let you do it. When you go to try to do that, it's going to tell you an error and make you go back and reevaluate.
Now, one thing that's good for those of you that have rooms that are mixed between star Spanish and, say, the regular test, when I get to the scanning part here in a bit, you're really only going to have to scan twice. You'll scan once for your booklets that are in Spanish and once for your booklets that are in English. And it's as long as you put them in sequential order, it'll assign them in sequential order. So if you don't want to scan each one of those booklets individually, I have a way for you to do that. 2 scans and you're good to go. Now, some of you may want to scan every one. That's fine. You can do that as well.
So we're using this for district benchmarks as well? So what about my DL teachers who are really trying to decide, because, we do that thing in elementary where is he going to test better in Spanish or is he going to test better in English? And then 1 9 weeks, maybe they're testing in English, and the next 9 weeks is, oh, well, let me test them in Spanish and see how they do, so that we'll know exactly their strong suit for stars. So how is that going to work with the benchmarks?
Well, think about it, between district and state, we're not scanning out booklets, so you're not gonna run into that error. You will basically put the booklet in the tub because there won't be anything to scan, so you'll make that choice. If you make a decision to change that, the reason why we have like the LPAC and the SPED and the 504 is, we're gonna talk later on, but we're gonna be able to do an auto upload of our students and their accommodations to try to get everything in there in a mass situation. But what happens is we can auto upload every several weeks. But if I'm the 504 administrator and I'm sitting in a 504 meeting, I can log on to the system, make the changes while I'm sitting in the meeting so that it's accurate and up to date. And there's no problems when we go to 3-6 or summative exams. In the meantime, well beyond or before state testing, because a lot of us on campuses have an Excel spreadsheet, or we ask the special ed department chair to print all of the accommodation pages, and then the testing coordinators in there on their spreadsheet entering every single accommodation known to man the week before testing, trying to get everything uploaded. And then they have the special ed lead go back and double check them to make sure that they've done everything. If the special ed administrator sitting in the ARD goes in during the ARD and quickly makes the changes, and it's just a matter of fact, a habit that we get into, or the 504 administrator or whomever makes these changes, our lists are accurate all the time, 100% of the time, and when we go to create rosters for any test, it's up to date and ready to go. We're not having a lag time of someone having to take all this data and then import it or input it into another system. Yes, ma'am?
Is it uploading from eSped then?
We're working on another situation. eSped's contract is up at the end of the year. So that's being evaluated. I don't know where that will go because I don't have the authority or the input. But what's gonna happen is the initial, you're gonna get a spreadsheet that uploads into their system, and you guys can basically put all the information and populate it from there into the spreadsheet or the CSV file, and then we will send it and upload it into Test Hound. We are working on a system where it will be an auto upload. It is not created yet. Ty and Edgents
and I are working on a system so that we're using one system and not 40 different systems across the board. Right now with special ed, there, I believe, Ty, can you remember 8 different systems? 8 different systems to control all of the accommodations across the board. We're looking to put that into one system so that it's way easier for you guys.
Now, because 504 is in Skyward, well, it's in Skyward, will it go into?
The label is in Skyward, but not the accommodations. So, no, the accommodations are now populating in Edugents, but like for all the 504 stuff, that's in Edugents, not in Skyward. I'll double check on it. The file coming from the district currently, whenever you populate it by student, does not show the individual accommodations, but I'll double check with the data team. All we can do is from the data side, but what we're gonna have to use is a CSV file initially until we get everything worked out. We worked with the technology side on what and how, but their accommodations don't match up currently, even though we can sort them. They were not by individual student when we initially looked. So if that's changed, we'll be happy to relook at that again. And I believe someone had, didn't you have your hand up too? I apologize. They will be as a regular kid because they take a regular test. If you have a student, a SPED student that the ARD committee has labeled they're not going to test again, they will be under the do not test, and then that would be documented, and the test coordinator would keep a copy of that ARD in their notebook or whatever, so that when and if it were ever challenged, we know what that do not test stood for. It wasn't just we thought they passed or something like that.
Also, to kind of chime in here really quick, when you look at the notes, when you look at the accommodations, there's a notes piece in there. So if you need to add additional information about why they're not testing, you can do that there, and then you'll have access to it. Okay. Let's get back to the test, and let's finish up this piece. I'd like to at least get through scanning the booklets to the students before we go to lunch. And then when we come back, the last piece we're going to do is really probably going to bring all this together for you, because a lot of people have a lot of questions about how this is going to make things better for you until they see the reports. And once they see the reports, they go, now I get it. So let's finish this. We've got our students that were taking the class into the system. We got the students that were in the class but have already passed the EOC. We've pulled them out. We got the kids that have passed the class but haven't passed the EOC. We got them in. So now we need to start taking care of our accommodated settings. Let's get those kids placed first, and then we can just dump the other kids in by, I don't know, you guys do alpha order or random or whatever. We can do a couple of different ways. So I'm going to once again add a couple of rooms here. And I realize that my demo is a simplified version of what you would do, but I think simple examples are probably best. Let's do the conference room again, and we'll put the gym in this time. All right. So once again, I'm going to have to filter my students. I'm going to filter by accommodation. I'm going to take my oral signed administration kids, and I'm going to put them in a room. Yeah. And I'm going to take my small group kids, put them in a room, and I'm going to have some overlap here. It's called somebody was messing with my system when I wasn't paying attention. All right. So we've got all of our kids basically where they need to go. We've moved a few kids out, but that's okay. Here, I'm just going to remove that room. Let's take care of the rest of the students. We need to take our students that are needing to be placed in regular rooms and move them somewhere. How do I do that? How do I assign everybody else to a room? Assign rooms, and then when I did that earlier, we had a couple of options. What is the option that I need if I want to put people in groups of, I don't know, 20 or 25? Set capacity. Now, if I choose this now, Test Hound will go out, it will look at all the rooms you have on your campus, and it'll randomly grab rooms and throw kids in there. Do you just randomly throw kids in rooms, or do you pick the rooms? All right, so let's do that really quick. Whoa, just unplugged my computer. All right, nobody said I had to be graceful. All right, so I'm going to choose rooms 101, 102, 201, 202, and submit. I made a mistake earlier, but since nobody's called me on it, I'm just going to pretend like I didn't make it and hope that nobody catches me. All right. Let's assign rooms by capacity. And how many people do you guys typically put in your rooms? How many? 25? Okay, let's do that. Now, at the moment, Test Hound is going to kind of average them out. It's not going to be quite 25. There will be a new feature added soon where if you want to force it to put 25, 25, 25, and then have a remainder, you can do that. But right now, it kind of averages them. Now, I can add them by alphabetical order. I can add them by random. If I choose random, it's going to randomly grab kids and put them in the room, and then it's going to put them in alpha order based on who's in the room. If I really love my test administrators, I can do by gender and give some of them all boys and some of them all girls. I don't know how much you love your people. Don't love them too much or they might love you back, though. All right, so now we have assigned all of our students to rooms, and we are ready to start assigning teachers. We're now back at the same spot that the elementaries were. So, where do I go if I want to add teachers? Do you see anything that in the test, ignore the sidebar to the left, do you see anything in the center of the screen that directs you at teachers in any shape, form, or fashion? So I don't see anything, so I'm going to have to look somewhere else. You can only assign teachers and test booklets within the room itself. So let's do that. I'm going to click on the room. I'm going to highlight room 101, clicking on that. And now I'm going to get a new screen. This is inside the room itself. Now I can do a couple of things here. This tends to be very common at the elementary, that you've got a couple of kids in a room that really just shouldn't be in the test together. Maybe they're just really good friends, or maybe they're really not good friends, or whatever reason. They shouldn't be in the test together. In this particular case, it's the two twins here, the Cuba twins. They talk too much. It's like they speak their own language and they're just going back and forth. So in order to make sure that they concentrate and get the best scores they can, I'm going to move one of them to room 201. Now, he's still on the list at the moment. But if I go over to room 201, you'll now see, did I go to the right room? Yeah, there he is. He's at the top. Jamal Cuba. All right. So once again, if you need to move an individual student from one room to another, go into the room itself, change them, and they'll move to the room you need them to be in. I need to add a teacher. Very simple. At the moment, now I want to show you the manual way to tell you that hopefully in the next couple of months, we're going to give you a way, especially for your elementaries, where the teacher is teaching in their homeroom setting. We're going to be adding a feature where it automatically assigns the teacher in those situations. It doesn't exist yet, but it will exist. So hopefully before you do your first real STAR or EOC test, that will exist. But right now, it's actually pretty simple. I just click on the teacher's name, and it adds them to their room. Notice that when I add a teacher to a room, they disappear from my teacher list. So I can't accidentally add the same teacher to more than one room. Now, that's great for elementary because in elementary, it's usually just one teacher per room, and that's it. That doesn't always work at your middle and your high schools. At the one that I worked at, we had some teachers that were kind of the B administrator, and sometimes they were the B administrator for more than one room. One year I was that unlucky person, and so I had to go to 2 rooms, maybe 3. In a situation like that, if you just create like John Smith B, then you can add that second John Smith to the other room. Does that make sense? Just create a new version of them? So you can't add the same teacher to more than one room, but if you create a duplicate of that teacher, then you can. That's basically what we're talking about. I'll create one when we're doing our practice this afternoon so you can see that. But I do want to also show you, you can add more than one teacher to a room. So if you have a room that's large, maybe you've got 40 kids in the room and you're going to kind of split them up, but you want to have them all on the same roster, you can do that. And all you have to do now to add the rest of the teachers is just kind of click through the rooms and add the teachers where they go. Okay. One more. All right. One little thing to note, when you're in the room screen, if I choose all rooms, it'll take me back to where I can see everything. So at this point, I've got everything set up. I've assigned all my teachers. I'm ready to start assigning booklets, I believe. That's also very easy. Let's click on room 101. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do this. I would imagine that you're probably going to go with the last thing I show you, but I want to show you both versions. So I'm going to start with the tub for room 101. So just imagine this. I'm in my, my secure area. I've got my bouncers at the door to keep people out so they don't interrupt me, because you guys can afford that kind of staff, right? I got my tub 101. There are 20 students in this room. Now there's 20 students, but note I've got one, and I realize that's an old test type, but it still applies. There is an L booklet in here, so I've got to have 20 regular booklets and one L booklet. So I go through and I put my booklets, because I know you guys, you're obsessive compulsive when it comes to putting things in order. Nobody spill like toothpicks on the floor. People are going to go and start picking them up. It's a vampire thing. Sorry. So you put your books in order, you count them, you've got 19 booklets, and then that one L. You're ready to start scanning. Now, you grab the first booklet, you scan. First, you have to click right here, though. Scan. Okay. You hear that pitch? High pitch, that's good. You scanned, assigned the appropriate booklet to the appropriate student. Let's scan the next booklet. Everything's good so far. Scan another one. So I'm just grabbing a book, scanning it, grabbing a book, scanning it, grabbing a book, scanning it, right? What if I mess up and accidentally somebody comes in, they're talking to me, water cooler chat, and I scan the same booklet? Did you hear that? The pitch was different. So if you're not paying attention but you're listening to the code, you can go, oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong, oh, it's a duplicate. All right, well, fine, I'll go to the next booklet because I wasn't paying attention. And I keep assigning them. Now I'm going to stop right now to say that this works pretty fast if your internet is running fast at your campus. But if internet's not running fast, and attendance time, anyone? I don't know. People streaming video in the computer lab? I don't know. It might slow things down. So I've got two other ways to do this, but I'm going to finish this line out. Oh, look at that. I have to have a different type booklet. Now, this could have been a Star Spanish. In this case, it wasn't, but I have one of those right here. So I scan it. Now everything is good in the world, right? So 532. So let's keep scanning this particular line here. All right. Now, I'm not going to finish that whole room, but you can see we're taken care of. This room, we could finish this out very quickly. But there's another way to do this. If your internet's running slow, and I understand some people are like this. Some people want to scan every single booklet. I understand that need. I've worked with a lot of people that need to do that. So if you can't get it to refresh every single time because the internet is running slow, you can switch to, I'm going to go to a different room to do this. You can switch to batch mode. Batch mode. Now, with batch mode, I can either click in the box here, or if you happen to be a mobile user, maybe you're using an iPad or a Android tablet or something, you can also do it this way. So you start scanning. Watch this. I'm just going to start. Notice it's not checking yet. All right. scanned a couple of things purposely wrong just so you would see. It's not going to validate until you tell it to validate, but when you do, oh, okay, so I went a little fast. I got a duplicate. I'm going to have to go back and scan the appropriate booklet there. It's going to make sure that I didn't give the wrong version of a test to someone. So it's going to do all the same checks that the system normally would, but it's only going to do it once. But there's one more way. I like this way because it's way faster, although it looks like I don't have a room that's going to show you everything, but it's going to be close enough. So what I'm going to do now, and I think I'm scanning the right one. I'm going to switch back to standard mode. Oh, F11. Well, now we know. Okay. Do you see this little A right there? A stands for auto scan. So I'm going to click that, and it's going to tell me to scan a booklet. It's going to give me some reminders, etc. I'm going to scan the first booklet in my range. And when I click submit, it assigned 22 booklets out of that range in sequential order. So as long as I'm putting my booklets in sequential order, I can scan once. Now what does it do? Let's look at that really quickly. It scans all of those booklets in order, which you guys are already putting them in order, so that saves you all those scans. It also tells you used auto scan because at the end of the range, at the end of the booklet, it puts an X. So it'll let you know you used auto scan for those. Maybe you want to test out the accuracy, and you do some of your rooms with auto scan, some with not, and test it out. You're going to find it's just as accurate as long as you do what? As long as you put them in sequential order, you are good to go. And you guys are like the masters of sequential order. One other thing. Let's say that I had, out of this 22 student group here, maybe I had 6 students that were Star Spanish. Same deal. I would take those 6 booklets. I would put them in sequential order. I would scan the first one, and it will auto-scan those guys as well. So it'll skip through all the booklets it doesn't need to and just give the Star Spanish kids their booklets in order. So you can do all 22 booklets, even if you've got a mix of booklet types, with just a couple of scans. All right. We are almost ready to go, but I do have one last thing here. Actually, you know what? I think we can stop here. Don't let me forget to copy some data because I want to show them how to take their benchmarks and copy those to the test. Some of you guys make your benchmarks look like your test is going to look, right? Okay, I can save you a lot of setup time by helping you take your benchmark and copy it to the test, and then you can just make little tweaks. So I'll show you that when we get back from lunch. So I'm going to pass this to Lisa now.
Okay. We are going to